Thanks for attending. Good morning, goedemorgen, or as we say in Groningen, mooi. We can say the same thing when we leave. We also say mooi. It's very easy. So I'm going to tell you about Oscar and the Oscar API and our implementation of that. I will spend a lot of time talking about what Oscar is, what it does, and what it can do. And then a little bit about the API, which is basically just what you would imagine it is. And then we go into the details of our implementation, which is a use case for one customer of ours, a large park in the Netherlands. And they were very happy with us, so I thought it would be nice to share that knowledge or that information with you. So, now that I have your attention, about me a little bit. Berko already said it. I moved around a little bit. I did Python since 2008. I started with a great company here called Goldmund Wildebeest Wunderliebe. And it feels good to be back here, really. It's like coming home. So we did a little bit of Plone in Goldmund Wildebeest Wunderliebe. We did a little bit of Django. I stuck with Plone for a lot of my career, and lately I've moved more onto Django and Wagtail, which is what we do at my current company, 4Digits, in Arnhem. In between, I was in Berlin for a newspaper called Der Freitag. They had a website based on Plone. It was very interesting, but not for this talk, I guess. Basically, I'm a back-end guy. I don't do the hard JavaScript front-end stuff. I have very good colleagues who know that stuff, so I can only tell you about Python. But that's what you came for, right? Oscar, what is it? It's an open source e-commerce framework. Oh, whoa. It's open source. I suppose that means a lot to all of you. It's e-commerce. That also means a lot to all of us. And it's a framework. And what does that exactly mean? Basically, it means it's not quite a complete solution. It's not like you go to some company and say, hey, I want a web shop, and they put it up for you. You have to tweak things a little bit, but the basis is there. And that's a very solid basis, I think. Oscar was developed by, it was started by a guy called David Winterbottom, who was working for a large bookstore in Great Britain. And he also built web shops for other kinds of customers. And then he started generalizing the different things he had to do. And then he came up with a kind of one framework that basically could do everything he wanted. And that evolved into Oscar. The current maintainer is Michael van Tellingen. He's a guy from the Netherlands. He lives in Utrecht. And there are 4, I think, main maintainers at the moment. So, what makes Oscar a good framework? The one phrase that is coined, it's called domain-driven. I didn't know what that was. I looked it up. It means that you can fold your application's logic around your customer's needs. So you don't have to tell a car salesman that they have to create stock records for a car that they only have one of, for example. There's supposed to be no logic enforced for specific use cases. So basically, it's all about being able to handle every situation. It's pluggable. There's a lot of different backends for doing different things, like payment, obviously, like user identification. You can use all Django authentication modules. And there's dynamic loading, which means if you want to override one model or class, you can just do it very easily in your own code without having to patch or anything or subclass. It makes it very easy to override and install stuff that you want. So, because this is a technical talk, I was told very clearly I was going to target technical readers, technical listeners. So I included a screenshot of code. Yeah, good. So anyone watching this stream, if this is streamed, they know we're serious. I also used graph models to show that we have several models, and abstract models even. I don't know. There's some interesting things that you might be able to see here already. I think, yeah, that screen is better. Bottom left, you see partner. That's not your live partner, but that's a partner that you buy stock records from. The stock record model is next to that. And obviously, there's a product class. There's, yeah, well, I'll get into this later. So Oscar basically can do a lot of things. It was developed for a very large bookstore in the UK. They handled millions and millions of orders and payments with it. It's really geared towards being towards large customers. You still have to customize a lot, but for large customers, that's worth it because they're going to have their own style, their own website, whatever that it has to fit into. So it's quite quick. It integrates with a lot of backends like SAP web services, and it has a lot of plugins and things that come with it out of the box that I will tell you about now. Can you read this? Yeah, you can. I can't. So there's a front-end interface, which you don't want to use because you want to replace it with your own, or at least style it. There's a dashboard, which has statistics, so you can see how much of product X you sold. There's stock record alerts. That means when you run out of stock, it gives you a warning. You can pay one order with any amount of payments via different channels, so like bank transfer, credit card, PayPal, whatever, Bitcoin. There's several kinds of events, like shipping events, payment events. You can customize them, make your own. There's product types, product categories, all for making your web shop display things in a logical way, or a way that you think is logical. Yeah, there's discounts. So every web shop has to have discounts, but then you can discount, you know, buy 3, get 1 free, or you can discount €2 off, but only in June, or you can discount 10% off, but only if you order by shipping in the Netherlands, whatever. Oscar handles a lot of that stuff out of the box, and it's very easily manageable. There's vouchers for a one-time action, actually, and there's reports for, you know, Excel exports for people who want to make pie charts and managers. Yeah. Good. That's out of the box, Oscar. And then there's a lot of things that don't come with it, but a lot of modules were created for Oscar. Mostly have to do with payment. So Oscar has been around for 6 years now, and it has gained quite some traction in the meantime. So that wraps about up my discussion of Oscar. If you have any questions, just save them until the end. The Django Oscar-Api does not have a logo, unfortunately, for this speaker. So basically, I just included this GitHub screenshot to show you what it does. It does basically what you would expect. It's just an API. And this will look familiar to a lot of you, except that you see there's an endpoint for basket. There's an endpoint for add product to your basket. There's an endpoint for orders, like get the orders that I have. And that's basically it. You can connect to this as different users. So every user is logged in as himself and can only see his own basket and related stuff. It's very, the idea is very simple, but it works very well for our use case, which I shall talk about now. I was not allowed to tell you the name of the customer, so yeah, maybe if you want, you can ask me afterwards, but I shouldn't put it in writing. So our customer had this use case. They had a lot of back-end services, which you see at the bottom. So you can see payment, you can see tickets, you can see reservations, which means I want to stay in your hotel, house, whatever. And there's identity management. And the idea was to get the website to connect to all of these. And this was originally done through an electronic service bus, which had one drawback. It did not have any customer care interface, sorry. So at the right, you can see customer care. If someone called, hey, what happened to my order? Oh, they had to look first in the payment, and then they had to look in the reservation, and then they had to look for identity management because maybe your address was wrong. It was quite cumbersome for them. And then someone proposed, let's put all that into Oscar, and you can manage all your orders in one place. It will be easier for customer care, and you will have one point of, well, not authority, because in the end, the backend services are the authority, but one place where everything is gathered and where it's very easy to see what happened to that order, or when it was shipped, or whatever. So this was the old situation. The new situation has a new pink block for Django-oscar-api. The customer already knew they wanted something that customer care wanted to connect to, but they did not quite know it was going to be Oscar. But then somebody proposed, not our company, but somebody else, some freelancer proposed to do it with in this way. And it worked out quite well. It has all the features they want, and it can actually deal with a lot of the strange things that happen in the backends. So these strange things, I'm going to talk about a little bit. You know, when you have to program backend systems, you run into very strange things. For example, the ticket system that we used here had completely different databases for tickets that were ordered online and tickets that were ordered at the park itself, at the entrance. And it gave different responses. So a lot of the logic was getting to work with the strangeness of the backend systems, and we were able to meet these in Oscar. Another thing was the slowness of the ESB development, because if you look at this picture, you will see that if you have an electronic service bus, usually what you would do is try to get all the logic in there. So the layer above that would be would not know anything about what was below it. Basically, the ESB would take care of all of that. That was the original idea. But unfortunately, because the ESB development was a bit slow, there were too little devs working on it, and they also had to do other things. A lot of the questions were, can you do this in Oscar? Can you put this strange logical quirk into your solution instead of into that solution? And of course, being software developers, we said, no, we go for beauty. We want pure code. And then the customer said, we'll pay you. And okay, yeah, that's the kind of guys we are. So we ended up putting a lot of those stories into our Oscar solution, our version of Oscar. And it made the customer happy because we were able to make a lot of mileage and do stuff that otherwise would have taken a lot longer. So we're happy with that. Customers are happy too. Another challenge we had to meet was the slowness of backend systems. For example, the ticket system. When you fire a request and say, hey, I want to make a ticket reservation, sometimes at busy times it would take 30 seconds to respond. By that time, the website was already like, no, this is taking too long. So we worked around it, and now we're queuing these things. So we fire a request towards the ESB, actually, which then queues that, retries to make that order. And when it succeeds, it calls back to Oscar, and then says, yep, it's good to go. You can sell the ticket. And then the email that they paid the ticket and it was sent will go to the customer. So strange things, but I think Oscar saved us in the end. It's very pluggable. It's very easy to develop on also. And the separation of concerns is quite easy because, as you see here, we only concern ourselves with the Oscar part of things. And then there's the website which queries Oscar. And then there's us querying the ESB. So basically, it's always quite clear what the error is. So the separation of concerns is very nice. That's the general API / front-end pattern is very nice. But you knew that, didn't you? So we have some quirks. So some back-end specific logic ended up in our Oscar solution. Yeah, it's a shame, but it allowed us to do a lot of work that saved the customers weeks of development. So actually, we're maybe even a bit proud of that. One other thing is that because we have reservations and you have to have some kind of stock record for it, we had to create one stock record for each different reservation, because we ended up doing that by making a stock record for each kind of accommodation that they have, with the start date and the end date of the reservation and the number of people. So you end up with a lot of different stock record types than you should have. But you couldn't solve this scenario with a simple variation, like t-shirt colors that are always green or yellow or blue or red. But we had like infinite variations, so we couldn't do that. So that's a bit strange, but it works very well. As long as you don't open that page in the admin interface, then you get like 1 million lists. Yeah, I think I'm almost done, actually. I have some links for you on the right. And it's basically all about Oscar e-commerce, Oscar commerce, and the Django OSCAR-api. And that's my presentation for now. So thank you. Yes, Kees. Say Kees.
Hello, yes. Is Oscar also written in Python or on the API?
Oscar is written in Python also, yeah.
And why you choose the API to be also included?
Sorry?
Why you choose also the API to be included? And
basically, because Oscar by itself is just the e-commerce framework, the models and everything. And there's a separate package, Django OSCAR-api, which makes every content available through an API. So I'm not sure if I understand your question correctly.
now, why you use an API? Why didn't you use, for example, Django views or just direct connection through
because
pages by Django instead of through an API? You use probably, like you said, I'm not a JavaScript guy. I don't. The other guys do that, so we probably choose to build the views in JavaScript.
yeah, but what could you suggest one alternative?
Just Django views, just alter.
Oh, okay, I see. Yeah, we have a complete.
Template.
I see what you mean, and also thank you, Maarten. We have a complete separation from the website. We don't make the website. We only make the Oscar part of the solution. So that I was not clear enough. So I tried to say that it's very nice to have that complete separation. So this other company is making the website. We are just making the API. And actually, that's a very nice pattern to work with, because we can focus on logic and backend connections, and they can focus on, do we get the content we want, and can we show it in the way that we want?
Yeah, okay. It makes it clear when you're two parties, and it's more logical to take that separation.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, you?
Yeah. I was wondering, I'm not sure how familiar you are with Oscar, but is it also able to handle subscriptions, like
actually, we just
payments and things like that?
Yeah, we just implemented that for our customer, and it requires some extra work. The big challenge there is you have to make periodic payments. So we have to periodically query the payment backends. Was a payment made with this payment reference? If so, do nothing, the order continues. If not, cancel the order. But that's not really...
So it's not included in the framework itself, but you have to do manual things around it? Or?
Exactly, it's not a standard feature.
Okay, cool, thanks.
Yeah. I saw this gentleman there, and then the gentleman behind you.
First off, thanks for an interesting talk. So 2 questions, actually. You said when you plugged the Django Oscar API, just wondering was it hard to plug that on top of the customizations that you've done, like with the stock records and the communication with this ESP? I imagine there was some customization. Do you need to customize the API towards that, or is it just plug and play on top of that?
We did customize a lot of things that were default in Oscar, like the orders, for example. Our order listing includes a lot of things that are not present in the standard Oscar Django Oscar API order list. But it's very easy to make these customizations because the code is quite pluggable. So it's just a question of using a different model and changing a serializer the serializer that is used to put the data in JSON, and then you're done. It's actually quite easy.
So you don't end up writing any customization code on the API side. That just
No, well, yeah, some obviously, because we want the order list to return different things that are only present in our specific solution, in our use case, but not in the general Oscar thing. So that stuff, obviously, we have to customize, otherwise it wouldn't be in there. But that customization is quite easy. It's basically one serializer or one subclassing of another model, and then it's done. And a lot of the default endpoints of Oscar, they work by default. So, yeah.
And yeah, a quick other question. So once you had the API and you have this website or the other clients consuming it, in terms of documenting this,
that's a very nice.
Do you point people to Oscar or do you write your own?
No,
documentation?
it's not completely self-documenting yet. I'm not sure what the technical term is, but basically the web interface that I just showed you should show you everything. It does not show you every endpoint yet, I think. So it's not completely self-discoverable, but it is completely ready for being consumed by any other endpoint, any other client, like an app, for example, because all the communication between website and Oscar is also tied to one session of the user, or one specific user. So it's completely safe to open that API up to anyone. We could do that. It's not the current infrastructure, but if someone said, hey, we want to build an app for this, yeah, go ahead, we've got an API. Yeah.
Cool, thank you.
Yeah.
Thanks. So is this now just a thin layer across the existing backend systems, or are you also replicating data?
Replicating what?
Are you replicating data to Oscar as well? So for example, like the orders, are they also in Oscar?
Yeah, yeah. We end up storing a lot of the things in Oscar and we sync them. And that's mainly because we don't want the website to wait, because a lot of the backend systems are slow and it would take too long for them to respond.
So basically there's a lot of duplicate functionality then in Oscar and in the backend, right?
Yeah. And the backends are the source of authority in the end, but a lot of the data, almost all of it, except customer information, which is private, is stored in Oscar itself. So we can quickly respond with, this is the order, this happened to it.
And is that in the plan also then to switch off, actually to make Oscar the new source of reference?
It's kind of a plan of ours, but we haven't told the customer yet. We want to replace all their backend systems with something that we built,
right?
Or maybe something that you built, something that doesn't suck. But
because if you have so much duplication,
sorry,
if you have so much duplication and this solution works nice, you can start switching off the old systems, right?
Well, it would be good if the other systems were quick and responsive. Then you could do without the duplication of code. Yes.
No, I mean the other way around. So you can switch off the old systems and use Oscar then as a source of truth.
I still think it's nice to have some kind of separation in there, but I don't think I'm enough of an architect to decide that. But I really believe, software-wise, I really believe in small sub-things that do small things very well. So that's why I also think that the website versus API distinction is a very good thing. So I would not move towards one big code base that does everything. It would be harder to maintain. Yeah, I'm not sure. I haven't thought about it much, but first thought is no. But
okay. Thank you.
Yeah, the gentleman over there.
Thank you. I know 4Digits as a serious company. All the nice things that you develop, like for instance this queuing, the subscription things. Are you going to open source them so that we all can benefit?
No, because it's completely tied to that specific backend system.
What a pity.
Yeah, we do open source stuff sometimes. So we had recently we had a Wagtail sprint, so a programming session in Arnhem. We have some people who developed, who contributed to Wagtail core. I'm not sure if all of you know, but Wagtail is a CMS for Python, built on Django also. And we really like it a lot. We do a lot of stuff with it, so we also dive into that community and we also share. But in this specific scenario, there's not much that would be of any use to anyone, I think. But yeah, feel free if you have the same, maybe you use the same backend as we do, I don't know. So maybe we should talk and then, yeah.
Okay, thank you.
One other case. It's good. How do you do the authentication on the API? Use stateless or OAuth? Or?
I'm not sure what you mean, but we send a request to one of the backend systems.
Oh, I mean,
we
between the client, between the web client and your API.
Yeah, the web server just passes that to us. The web server just passes that straight to Oscar, and then we pass it back to the backend that really checks it.
I mean, you have another company who built the front end, the pages.
Yeah, the website.
I think people need to authenticate on that site. They say, I want that ticket. You need to know who is requesting a ticket.
Yeah. So the website, the one on top, it just says this is the username, this is the password. That goes to Oscar, and then we pass that on to the backend system.
I understand. But in the Django API, what kind of use is the API stateless, or do you have a session?
Okay. Yeah. Not sure actually. Yeah, we have a. How does it? Yeah, we have a session.
Session based.
Yeah.
So you just log in probably, and then you keep a session. In
Yeah.
So probably no OAuth authentication and no.
No.
You want to have the mic?
It's a Django REST framework. You have plenty of authentication methods there. Anything. So it's just a matter of Django REST framework, what it does.
But I think what we do is once we authenticate it, we get a session, and that one stays valid for the website to pass to us. I'm not sure if it answers your question, but we can go on about it in detail later. So, anybody else? Cool. I'll be available for questions the whole day, I think. So just ask me anything. For example, yeah, you had some interesting... Good. Yeah, so thanks. Have a nice day, everyone. And as we say in Groningen, mooi.